no limit hold'em players playing PLO is they overvalue their hands. PLO players, when they first go back to no limit hold'em, they undervalue their hands. When you review a hand with absolute certainty, then you tend to ignore the information that you didn't gather, and that could be potentially your leak or what's preventing you from getting better. This brings up a very interesting topic that I actually want to talk about. Was there any point that you feel like, screw this is too much for me, or like I don't want to do this anymore, or was there ever a situation like that?
Definitely. I would say many times along the road of the journey of poker. I'm sure the reason why you asked this question is because you felt that, right? You know.
I think all of us poker players have had that situation. So how do you combat that?
I take a break. I step away from the game and I do something else for a while. I think as a poker player, you, like I was saying before, you lose sight of like your life almost. Like you lose balance. You know, and once you lose balance and your entire life is consumed by poker, and that's all that matters to you is your results in poker, you lose perspective. And I think the only way to regain that is to step away from the game and do something else. And now that I'm back in Asia and I've taken this long break, even though I have been playing poker, but not to the extent of my poker that I was playing in the States, it's done a lot for me in terms of regaining some perspective and the value of valuing money again. Like you lose that when you play so much poker. Like the value of money, you're just like, oh, like you don't even think of it as money anymore. You just think of it as like buy-ins.
Like, only outside the poker tables, because I've seen so many people who have no problem bluffing big pots with thousands of dollars, but they're unwilling to tip $20.
Right. Why is that? It's not poker. Why does that happen to us?
Because at the tables or online, you tend to, like, these chips tend to be just numbers, and that's very good. Like, you should have that quality to see these not as money, but betting chips. But it could also screw up your mind a little bit, and like when you come back in the real world.
That's true. That's very true. What about you? That question, taking a break and.
Yeah, I think a lot of poker players have gone through downswings. I get asked that questions a lot. What if I've been losing? What do I do? I think a few things to consider is, one, you should have very good bankroll management. You should find people to consult, try to ask questions, what kind of games that you should play. You should not play because out of ego. Play like at a level where you feel very comfortable, then the results don't affect you as much. So first off is to have very good bankroll management, and then focus on the process. You should always focus on the process and focus on playing well, and instead of focusing on the results, because if you focus on playing well, the results will come. So you should always try to make sure that you're playing your best game and you're trying to improve your game.
Sasha, I feel like you're probably the most responsible PLO player I know. Like with the talk about being responsible bankroll, the PLO players that I know that I've encountered, like they're the biggest gamblers ever. Biggest gamblers. They love gambling, and I think that comes with the nature of PLO though. You know, like you have to be willing to obviously know when to take the smart gambles, right?
No, don't get me wrong. I've made a lot of mistakes. I'm still making a lot of mistakes. I'm not perfect. But the thing is, I'm always learning. I'm willing to learn. I'm willing to know my mistakes and tackle those issues and try to get better at it. I think that's the essence of being a poker player, is you should always try to find your leaks. No matter where you're at, no matter what level you're at, you should always try to be a better poker player than yourself yesterday. You're not trying to compare or compete with other people. You're trying to compete with yourself. I think it also helps to have a good circle of people around you. So when you're away from poker, then you're still reminded that even if this doesn't go right, then you're still okay. I'm really lucky enough to have a small group of people. They're really just there for me unconditionally. And I'm also very lucky enough that most people in Asia probably don't know, but my personal mentor is Barry Greenstein. And for people who don't know him, he's like he's a poker Yoda. He's a poker legend. We don't talk about poker hands or anything, but he has a lot of life wisdom. Whenever I ask him about something, he will always give me some very, very good wisdom. And so I'm very lucky to have someone there to guide me in the right direction.
Yeah, and I'm sure all his wisdom comes from the mistakes that you were saying, you know, from his long history of his career in poker.
Right.
So I actually read his book, the Ace on the River book, and I remember when I was first starting on poker, that was one of the first books I got, and feeling the way you felt. This guy has given me this wisdom that it had taken him years to learn from his own mistakes, you know, in the game. Whether it's like, and a lot of it is not even about the technical part in poker. It's like the lifestyle that you have, that you know, the situations that come up as a poker player, and the problems that you encounter and how to deal with it. And you know, and I remember that he had a lot of really good information in that book.
Right. Whenever I ask him about life or something, then he just gives me some wisdom that I just instantly feel like, oh wow, like this is how I should be thinking.
For sure.
Yeah.
What you were saying about the support system too, I think that's definitely important, because in poker, it's like you guys all know, it's very hard to have a lot of genuine friendships. You know, I actually did a video about that a while ago, talking about having solid and real friendships in poker, because the nature of the game is like you're trying to find ways to win all your opponent's money, right? And so naturally, people are going to be, you know, deceptive. You know, it's part of the game. But to differentiate that and actually, you know, meet genuine people in the poker world and to develop friendships, you know, sometimes can be a challenge. So having that as a support system is definitely helpful, especially in downswings. You know?
Right. Yeah.
What are some crazy PLO situations that you've been in?
Most interesting stories come from PLO tournaments.
Okay.
I've played one tournament at the Wynn in Vegas,
Okay.
where I was down to 3 big blinds, and I was about to hit big blind very next hand. So I posted blind. I had 2 big blinds left. We were 4 left at the final table, and all of them gave me a walk.
Okay.
And then small blind was the old guy. He looked at his hand and he was like, I can't play. And then he folded. And at that point, I was thinking to myself, there's no way I could lose this tournament.
Right.
At that moment, I was telling myself that, okay, it doesn't matter how many chips are right now in front of me. I know that I could out-level them. I know that I can outplay them.
Okay.
And so I just need to focus, and I'm winning that tournament. So
Wow.
that was
3 big blinds.
that was a very, from 3 big blinds.
Who doesn't love those stories, right? Like players that put in a tournament where they're down to like a couple big blinds and they end up winning the thing. Thanks so much for doing the video today with me. I think a lot of the viewers out there should definitely listen to a lot of the advice that Sasha had gave you. Not just advice that applies to Omaha, but just poker in general, like just discipline, bankroll management, thinking about things like that. And it's always tough to learn a new game and to jump in, you know, but like she said, like a lot of it's just, you know, making mistakes and knowing where your limits are, and just, you know, you got to make mistakes to learn, right? So
Poker is a game of gathering information. Whether you're down on downswing, or you're losing money, or you feel like you're not as good of a player, it's okay. You're gathering information. As long as you don't quit, as long as you keep improving, you'll be fine.
I like that. All right, guys, we'll catch you guys next time, and thanks for watching.